Hi, this is Shuaib, one of the co-founders of Visitran. Today we'll be looking at the Jaffle Shop starter project example and how to achieve the transformations we need with the no-code interface as opposed to the AI-based interface. Let's start by looking at the transactional data for this transformation project. First is that we have the customers table. So we have the ID, the first name and the last name. It's a pretty simple table. Then we have the order details where we have the order ID, which user placed the order, the date of the order and the status. And for payments, we have a table which can have multiple rows per order because the customer can choose to pay using multiple methods even for one order. For instance, she could pay using a credit card but also using a coupon. Now, here are the business questions we'll answer. Now that we saw how the transactional data looks like, from that data, we will have to do a series of transformations from which we'll answer essentially two business questions. Question number one is what payment methods were used for various orders. For instance, given a order ID, let's say we need to answer things like how much did the customer pay using credit card, how much using coupon, what was the total amount. Recall that there can be multiple payment table rows per order. Now in this final model, we will simply have one row for each order. Question number two is what is the customer lifetime value? Meaning how much did the customer give in total to the business? This is the production order details final table that we want, and this is how it looks like. So there's an order ID, there's customer ID, there's order date, and then the status of the order. And then we have one column each for the type of payment that was made and the total amount in dollars. Like I mentioned before, there can be multiple payment rows per order, but in this particular final model, we have everything consolidated. For instance, if you take this particular order ID, we have a total amount of $19 that was paid. But then you can see here that there was a bank transfer of $14 and credit card of $5. Everything is consolidated here. Next is we look at the broad customer lifetime value table. Here we have the customer ID, first name, last name. When was the first order by this customer? When was the last order by this customer? The number of orders and also the customer's lifetime value in dollar amount. Here are the models we'll build. Now, of course, we can build the production models in one go, but then where's the fun in that and where's the reusability in that? So what we will do is that we will have different layers of models. The dev models will have the most simple transformations, and from the staging models, we will derive the production models. First, let's look at the dev payments model. This is a pretty simple model. What we essentially do is that we derive this model from the raw payments model, and we will rename the ID to payment ID, and we'll also add a new column. As you can see here, this particular amount column is in cents, so we'll have to convert that into dollars. So we add a new column. A very important concept in Visitran is that you do most of the transformations by adding a new column and specifying a formula to create that new column. In this particular case, we will divide by 100. We'll see exactly how to do it. This is the lineage of the model. So as the source is raw payments, and we will use the dev schema and a table named dev payments. When it's done, this is how the dev payments model will look like. Now let's see how to get this done in Visitran using no code. I've logged into the Visitran UI. From here you can load the sample projects and keep going. So first is we look at a completed project and how it looks like. So when you click on load sample project, you will be able to see both the starter project and the finalized project for the Jaffle Shop sample. Clicking on finalized will show you the finalized version of the project. Let's review it briefly, and then we can go back to a starter project and do all the transformations ourselves. Also note that This project is very clearly documented in the documentation. Let's open the finalized project. Here you can see that the seeds are available. So let's quickly review the seeds. I'm going to close the AI frame. So you can see that there's customer information, orders information, and also payment information. Right? Let's close these. We want to answer the questions: what is the customer lifetime value for each customer? So you will be able to see the total dollar value for a customer throughout their lifetime. You see that here? And the other question we want to answer is the order details as to which payment types or payment channels customers used. So you can see the various types of payments that customers used. So these are the two questions we want to answer. But the way we'll construct the models is with something like this. So we will have staging models, we'll have the dev models as well. So before we can come up with the production models, we'll have a couple of staging models as well, right? Now these dev models will directly correlate with the raw data with some changes. We'll go back to the dashboard, and this time, rather than load a finalized project, we will load a starter project, which will only have the data, and it's left to us to do all the transformations ourselves. But in the process, the idea is that we can learn quite a bit. So I'm going to close the AI panel here so we can start from scratch. As you can see, there are no code models available. We only have the raw seed data at this point of time, right? So if you look at the database view, we do have several schemas here. And in the schemas, we do have the raw data already loaded. So we have some, this is the schema for each of the different tables in the raw schema. Raw customer, raw order, and raw payments is what we have, right? Now, as this tick mark indicates, all the different seeds have already been loaded into the raw table. So we can go to the no code model here and start by creating the models, right? So let's do just that. Now that we know what the raw tables look like, the first table we'll create is called dev payments. Let me right click on this and create a new model. We will call this dev payments, and this will reflect the raw payments table. Let me hit create. We have the model created. We want the model to be a root model. It's not a derived model. We'll select the source to be the raw schema and the table to be raw payments, of course. We are developing development models. We want them to be in the development schema, and we'll call this dev payments. Here apply. There we have it. Now we will add a couple of transformations here. Number one is we have this field called ID, which we don't want. We want this to be called payment ID. This is the first transformation we are applying in this project. So you simply rename the column and click OK. It should apply the transformation. You can actually even see the original name by clicking on this icon. So this indicator basically shows you that this particular column has been renamed. Of course, this indicator shows you the type of the column, but this indicator shows you that this column has been renamed. And of course, this particular rename indicator you can't see anywhere else because we haven't really done anything to the other columns, right? The second transformation we will do here is that we will convert this amount into dollars. This is in cents at this point of time. To create any transformation in Visitran, most of the time you will need to add a column, right? So I'll show you, for instance, how to create a transformation by adding a column. And as we add the column, we can also specify what transformation we want by using simple Excel formulas. So you click on add column. So to remind you again, what we want is we want a column called amount in dollars, and we want it to be this value divided by 100 because this value is in cents right now. I click on add column, and then I give it a new column name. Let's call it amount in dollars, and the formula we will use is a quotient formula, which I have autocomplete here, and then I'll say amount, which is the name of the field, and 100 is the value by which we want to divide this. So I'll hit save. There you go. Now we have a new column added, which is amount divided by 100. So when you hover over the information icon here, you can see the actual formula being used. Of course, you can also edit this and change it to something else and stuff like that right here, right? So in essence, we are pretty much done, doing the transformations we need to this particular model. So in essence, we have renamed ID as payment ID, and we have added a column called amount in dollars, which is amount divided by 100, right? One other thing we can do is look at what changes have been made to this particular table, right? So you can look at, for instance, renamed columns. This particular indicator is always there. And then you can also look at if any columns have been added, which is the primary means of making any transformation in Visitran. So you can see that in the add column button now has changed color, and the same color is also used for the particular column. So you know that this is a newly added column, and we also know how many columns were added here by just looking at this button, right? What you can also do is that you can also look at the SQL that is generated as a consequence of your actions, the actions that you made on this particular model. So as you make the changes, Visitran tracks those changes and generates SQL to match those changes. So when you click on the SQL button here, you can see the SQL that's loaded. So for instance, you can see that we are using the as keyword in SQL to rename the column here from ID to payment ID. And you can also see that we are using a flow cast, and then there's a formula here which maps to the quotient Excel formula, right? Of course, we also have Python code that's generated, but that's not something that you need to worry about. That's how Visitran works internally, but you can look at the SQL that's generated as part of your actions. The documentation for the Excel formulae are available on the Visitran documentation website. So you can get a lot of information as to what formulas are available and what each formula does. Excellent. Now we are done with the dev payments model. Let's now look at the dev orders model. The dev orders model is based on the raw orders table, and we will do some simple transformations. We'll rename the ID column to order ID, and we'll rename the user ID column to customer ID, which makes more sense here. And that's pretty much it. The lineage is that raw orders is the source, and we will store this dev orders model in the dev.devorders table. This is how the dev orders model will end up looking like. We will have simply renamed two columns, ID to order ID and user ID to customer ID. Now, let's look at how to achieve this in Visitran. Let's add one more model. This time we want to add the dev orders model, right? And let's hit create. We have it created. Let's click on that. We need to configure it. This also is a root model. It's not derived from anything. So we will choose a raw. The source table is going to be raw orders, and we want to have this model in the dev layer, and we're gonna call it dev orders. Hit apply. Awesome. So this is now pretty much the same as the raw model. The transformations we will make is just a couple of renames. So we will rename the ID column to order ID. I just click OK. We have the rename indicator here saying the original name was ID. And then the second change we'll do is we'll change user ID to customer ID and hit OK. Awesome. This also has changed to customer ID now. We can also quickly look at the generated SQL for you to get a hang of how this works. So now we have two columns which are renamed using the as keyword in SQL. Great. Now we are done with the dev orders model. Let's now look at the dev customers model. The dev customers model derives from the raw customers table, and we'll simply rename the ID column to customer ID. The lineage is raw customers and then the destination is dev customers. This is how ultimately the dev customers model will look like. It's a very simple transformation. We take the raw table and simply rename the ID column as customer ID column. Let's look at how we can achieve this in Visitran. So let's right click, select new model, call this dev customers, hit create, click on dev customers. In essence, this is also going to be a reflection of the raw customers model. So we'll select raw and then schema and then the raw customer. And then we want to have this model in the dev layer. We're going to call this dev customers. Hit apply. Now the transformations we need for this particular model is just one. We will rename ID to customer ID. All right, we see that this has worked. Now we are through with creating the dev models. Let's go ahead and look at how to create our next level of staging models. Great that you're done with dev customers. Now let's look at the staging aggregated order payments model. Now this model aggregates payments by customer ID. So we need not one but two tables. We will take dev payments and then join it with dev orders. The destination is going to be staging underscore aggregation underscore order underscore payments. So this is how the join configuration will look like in Visitran, which we will see in just a bit. As you can see, we are doing the join on the order ID column. We will create a total underscore amount column, which is going to be the sum of amount in dollars grouped by customer ID. Then we sort the whole model by customer ID. This is how the staging aggregated order payments model will look like when it's done. As you can see, we have the total amount by customer. Let's look at how to achieve this in Visitran. Now that we are through with creating our dev layer models, let's turn our attention to creating the staging layer models, which will add more transformations taking on from the dev layer models, right? Now we will create a new model by right clicking and saying new model. We'll give it a name, which is a staging model, which aggregates data from the order and payments models, right? So now you can see that as we progress, the complexity of the transformations increases. Let's hit create. Now that the model is created, I click on it. It should bring up the model configuration dialog. Now, for the first time, we want this model to derive from other models. So we'll choose child off, and you know that we're going to have aggregation between payments and orders. So we're going to click those models, and the source is going to be dev and payments, which is the main model really for this. And of course, we want this to be a staging level model. For the first time, we are creating we are going to add a model to the staging schema, right? And of course, we're going to say this is stg underscore aggregation underscore order underscore payments. We hit apply. The model is ready without any aggregations. It's simply pulling data from the payments model. To create the join, we go to configuration. Of course, when you there are three options here. This option allows you to configure the database level stuff. Then you have the model configuration dialog, which we just got out of. and then finally the joints dialog, where you can configure the joints that you need. So in this particular case, we want to be able to join data between payments and orders, of course. So this is perfect. So the system already suggesting join between payments and orders, and then we want the order ID, payments.order ID to be equal to dev orders.order ID, which is perfect, right? So we will hit apply. Now we should have data joined between these two models available in this particular staging model. There's also color coding, which will show you which columns belong to which model. So you know that, for instance, these red color coding is basically coming from the orders model, right? We also want to set up the transformations now. First is we want to aggregate by, we want to group by customer ID, right? So what we'll do now is we will click on the aggregator. We want to group by customer ID, of course. Then we want to add an aggregator, which is the column is going to be amount in dollars, and we'll say this is column name is total amount. We hit save. Awesome. So this has now created a grouping by customer and the total amount that they have spent. This is exactly what we needed. And we can also add another transformation sorting function, which we want to do by customer ID. So you can go to sort, add a sort by customer ID and ascending. Lovely. Now, as you can see, this creates an order by clause in the SQL, as you can imagine, right? So these are the two transformations we wanted to do. Now we have a staging model where we have, we group by customer ID the total amount that they have spent. If you look at the SQL here, you will be able to see the ordering, but also the joins, right? So we also have the ordering here. Awesome. Now we are done with the staging aggregated order payments model. Let's look at the staging order summaries model. The staging order summaries model creates order summaries by customer ID. It has aggregation, so we'll look at how to do aggregations. We'll have the first order, last order, the number of orders grouped by customer ID. As you can see, the source is going to be dev orders, from which we will create the staging order summaries model. Transformations are, we will create aggregations grouped by customer ID, of course. We will create a first order column, which is the minimum of order date. We'll create a last order column, which is the maximum of order date. We'll create a number of orders column, which is the count of order ID. Then we'll sort by customer ID. This is how the finalized model will look like in Visitran. Now let's see how to actually get this done. Let's move ahead and create the next staging model, which is the order summaries. I'm going to right click, create a new model, staging order summaries. I hit create, click on the model, which brings up the dialog. So I'm going to say this is a child of dev orders, because we want to create just a order summary, right? And this is dev orders. We configure the destination to be staging and staging order summaries. I hit apply. Awesome. So now let's aggregate. We add an aggregator. We want order summaries. So we group by, of course, customer ID, because that's how we want to group it by. And we click on add an aggregator. We want a minimum of order date, and we'll call this first order, so we can find out the first order by this customer. And we add another aggregator, which is the latest order by order date, of course, and then the last order, and then another, which is count this time, so we get a good idea about what's going on. Order ID, we will call this number of orders. And this is it. These are the three we need. We hit save. Let's also sort by customer ID. There you go. That's what we need. Awesome. Now we have this beautiful table, which is we have customer ID, first order, last order, but also number of orders by customer. Let's also look at the SQL real quick. There you go. This is the SQL that we generated. Now we are ready to create the next staging model, which is going to be staging by payment type. Great. Now we are done with staging order summaries. Let's look at staging payments by type. Since we know that one order can be paid with multiple payment types, this particular model gives us the amount paid by each method for a particular order ID. The source is dev payments. No joins here. We will create the staging payments by type model in the staging schema. The transformations in this model are fairly involved. Let's look at them. First is we'll add new columns based on the payment type. So we are splitting out the column based on the payment type. We will create a new column called credit card amount. Normally this is 0, but if the payment method is credit card, then we take the value from amount in dollars. Similarly for coupon amount, bank transfer, and gift card amount as well. What we do here is we look at the column called payment method. Based on its value, we assign a value to these newly created columns. Then we have aggregations grouped by order ID. We create a credit card total column, which is the sum of credit card amount. Similarly, we create for coupon total, bank transfer total, gift card total as well. These are new columns. And then we finally create a total amount in dollars column, which is the sum of amount in dollars. And finally, we sort by order ID. What this leads us to is a model which looks like this. For each order ID, we have different columns that specify what amount was paid by payment method. And then we also have total amount in dollars as well. Now let's look at how to get this model done in Visitran. Let's create a staging model which will give us by order ID what different payment methods were used, or rather what was the split of payments by payment type. So someone must have done, like, let's say a bank transfer plus a coupon, something like that. So we're gonna do exactly that. We will add a new model. We will call this model staging payments by type. Click on it to configure it. So this is going to be the child of dev payments, of course. That's the main model we're gonna look at. So this is dev payments, and then we look at staging. We'll call this staging payments by type. Hit apply. Now what we are going to do is that we are going to use the Excel if formula to create columns by payment type. So now we have payment method and amount, and or amount in dollars. So what we're gonna do is that if a payment is a particular type, then we are going to create a new column for that. Otherwise we'll have it 0. So for that we need to add columns. So we will call this credit card amount, and we'll say if payment method equals credit card, we'll take the value amount in dollars, otherwise we will take 0. So let's copy this because it's useful to create other columns. We'll call this credit card amount. Yes, save. But let's just verify first. So whenever the payment method is credit card, we have amount in dollars. Otherwise, let's say for coupon, this is 0, which is how it should be working, which is great. Let's add for the other payment types. Save. Quickly verify whether it's working. Seems to be working great. Now let's add for bank transfer. This also seems to be working as expected. Let's add now for gift card. Seems to have done the job. So wherever it's gift card, we have that amount. Now let's create the aggregations required and group by order ID. So we will add an aggregator. This is going to be the sum of each of the new columns we created. So it's going to be credit card amount. We'll call this credit card total. Add an aggregator for each of the payment methods. It's also a good idea to have a total amount as well. So we will take total amount in dollars and call this total amount in dollars. Hit save. Now we should have by order ID the split across the different payment methods, but also the total. Let's check that out. There you go. This is awesome. So we have the total, for instance, for order number 87, it was $26 via credit card and $30 via gift card, and now we have $56 in the total. This seems to have worked really well. Except we might probably want to sort by order ID. Let's do that as well. We'll add a sort by order ID ascending. Perfect. This is perfect. So now we have exactly what we need. Let's also check out the SQL. Looks great. So the if formulas have been translated into SQL properly, and we also have the sums and the renames and all of that. Great. Now we are done with staging order summaries as well. Let's now look at how to create our first production model, which is prod order details. Now the prod order details model's intent is to provide a more detailed view of the orders by order ID, the payment method used, and the split of each, the total value, etc. The sources we'll use here are the dev orders and the staging payments by type models. We'll join them to create the prod underscore order underscore details model. This is how the joint configuration looks like. We'll of course see how to set this up in Visitran as well. The transformations are essentially sort by order ID. That's pretty much it, which leads us to a model which finally will look like this. For each order ID, we'll have the customer ID, the order date, the status of the order, and the split of the total amount in dollars across different payment types. So we have this very neat single model which can answer a lot of questions. Let's look at how to configure this model in Visitran. Now we are ready to create the production models. So let's go ahead and do that. We will create a order details prod model. So let's right click on this, create a new model. Click on it. This is going to be a child of dev orders and also staging payments by type. And this is going to be dev orders is the primary table against which we will join. We'll switch to the prod schema. Prod order details is the name of the model. We'll be joining the dev order models with the payments by type model. So we're going to click on join. So dev order inner join to staging payments by type, and where order ID in dev orders is going to be equal to perfect. This is staging payments by type order ID. This is actually correct. So we'll hit apply. We should be able to see data joined between these two models. This is great. So the only transformation we need is sorting by order ID. Let's add that in, and let's enforce that. This is great. So now for each order ID, and we have customer ID data, we have the status, we have the total by payment type, and also the total amount in dollars. This is one production model we needed, and we have it. So now we can figure out for any particular order ID how the payment was split. Let's also look at the SQL. There we have it. Great. Now we are done with the prod order details model. Let's move on to prod customer lifetime value model. The prod customer lifetime value model's intent is to look at the total lifetime value of a customer, in essence, what they have paid us throughout their lifetime of their being a customer. Now it has 4 different sources, as you can see on the screen, and we join all these to create the prod customer LTV model. Here is how the joint configuration looks like. We'll also take a deeper look as we code this. The transformations are sort ascending by customer ID, and that's pretty much it, which leads us to a model which looks like this. So in essence, we have customer ID, first name, last name, first order, the most recent order, total number of orders, as well as the customer lifetime value in dollars. Now let's create our final model, which is the customer lifetime value model that we need. Let's go click on new model. We'll call it prod customer LTV. Let's configure it to be the child of staging order summaries, staging payments by type, dev customer, but also aggregated orders. Yeah, let's do that. And we'll join data between dev customer, and let's call this customer LTV model. This is great. Let's set up the joins. So dev customer, of course, inner join to order summaries. There you go. And customer ID equals customer ID, which is also good. Let's join another table, which is going to be dev customer and aggregated order payments. This time it's going to be on customer ID, which is great. Let's apply. The base data looks good. Let's start applying the transformations. First is we will sort by customer ID, and this gives us the information on a particular customer, their first order, last order, the total number of orders they've done in their lifetime, and also the total amount they've spent with us. There we have both of the production models, one giving us the customer lifetime value, the other giving us order details split across payment type. We have that information as well. So this should answer our business questions. I hope you got a good idea of how to use Visitran to create very powerful transformations with a very simple yet very powerful no-code interface. If you have stayed around this far, it's safe to assume you're serious about your craft. Visitran is a modern, agentic, no-code and very productive way to achieve sophisticated data transformations. Please sign up, check out our agentic features, which are even more time-saving. Finally, do join our Slack community. I'll see you there.